Okay, we'll start now. Anyone who stops learning whether at 20 or at 80, you have to keep learning to keep yourself young. Now, you decide whether you want to be young or old. Good evening, everyone. This is Prajakta Kutnikar, co-founder and director of ITCM Software. We are glad to share the journey of IT teachers with 17 years, 100 plus projects across the globe, and trained more than 600 plus students on different modules with 100% placement and live project internship. We are going to have a series of learning sessions from the industry experts to all who are interested in learning different modules of SAP. Starting with our very own beloved CEO, Mr. Rajesh Putnikar, who has 27 years of experience in industry in different verticals and different countries. He started his career as a SAP developer and now heading this company of 125 employees with a presence across the globe. Feel free to ask any time by putting your queries in the chat box so that post the session, sir can take over your queries. If you want to know further about us, do visit us at www.itgems.com. We are present on all social media, so feel free to get in touch with us anytime. Without any further delay, I would like to invite you, Mr. Rajesh Putnikar, to take over. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Prajakta. Good evening, everyone. And good to have so many people joining in. I can see some very familiar faces and some new ones. Very nice to be addressing this webinar. I can see one face, Sunil Soni. Good to see you, Sunil, after such a long time.
Same here, sir.
IT chap, and now he is in Oman and is joined in from there. Guys, without much ado, I'll just start with this session. The idea of this session is to share some insights into career opportunities in SAP, and then specifically a few things about SAP HR and why it is a good career choice, and why thousands of career aspirants across the globe have chosen this and have been very successful, and what is it that is required to be successful in this field. So I'll just share some insights, and then towards the end I would take a few questions as well. So this is a 1 hour session, and I'd be happy to answer any queries towards the end. And yeah, just some housekeeping. If you are on other calls or if you're moving about, please turn off your audio, be on mute, and also if you're moving around, turn off the videos. Yeah, so I see a mix of audience here, some freshers, career aspirants, some experienced folks, and some part of IT Champs family. So it's good to have a mix of everyone. And so for the benefit of those who are new to SAP and don't know much, I've just heard about SAP. First things first, don't call it SAP, call it SAP. This is SAP is both a product and a name of an organization worldwide. So most of you would be aware of. This is an organization which was founded in the early 70s, in 1971, 72, which was founded by four senior consultants who are working for IBM. They presented an idea to IBM to start an integrated platform which could be used by businesses to have everything, all transactions in real time. Remember, we are talking about day and age in the early 70s when it was the time of the mainframes. There were no personal computers or microcomputers or mini computers. So this is a very old time frame, and these people had the vision and the foresight to think about what is beneficial to businesses and how the future would unfold. And that's what differentiates great visionaries from us ordinary people, right? So these people had that foresight, and because their idea was shot down within IBM organization, they decided to venture out on their own, and they started this organization called SAP. SAP stands for Systems, Applications, and Products in Data Processing. And this organization started the concept of real-time computing. And then the first release of SAP was R1, which was on mainframes. And then it had, so what exactly is SAP product all about? It is an enterprise resource planning software. Enterprise is an organization, any customer's organization, could be small, medium, or large organization. An organization which has something to produce or a service to offer. It has a procurement process, there will be sales process, there could be project management processes. So in any organization, there are various departments, divisions, products, services, etc. Right? So all this comes under the umbrella of an enterprise. And then what are the resources that any enterprise would require? You have finance, you have people, so you have machinery, you have capital, you have materials. All these are resources in any organization or an enterprise. And without proper planning of deployment of these resources, no organization can function profitably or can survive for a long period of time. So that is the reason you need to plan all the resources, have all the various divisions in an enterprise work seamlessly with each other, and share these, put these resources to most optimal use, right? So then that is how this concept of ERP emerged, and there was a need for enterprise resource planning. So that is how there are many other ERP softwares as well, which have existed in the past and which are existing even now. Some of them are existing even now, but in the past there were products like Barn, JD Edwards, and Oracle ERP. Oracle, although primarily was a database organization, they came up with this relational database management systems, and then they evolved eventually into a ERP software product as well. But SAP has always been an ERP product organization, and later on, through a lot of R&D, they have been on the forefront of all innovation in different technologies. For instance, they were the first ones to adopt .NET way of enterprises in the late 90s, and then so they came up with a concept called mysap.com, and then they were first on board with cloud computing. So they went with distributed computing, cloud computing, and then now the latest versions support in-memory computing, and then distributed instances and distributed databases. The platform is high availability and integrates network analytics into it. The latest platform from SAP is called Hana, High Availability Network Analytics Platform. So this integrates all other software, any other software which the enterprise might have beyond ERP into ERP. So it gives you a platform to integrate everything with a unified user experience. Okay, so this is a little bit about the background of SAP. So over a period of time, over the last 50 years, SAP has evolved from a mainframe software from release 1 to R2 and then release 3 with the advent of client server computing. Then SAP came up with 3-tier architecture where they segregated database servers, application servers, and then the presentation layer for the front end PCs. So that is how R3 evolved. And then so the R was retained because everything was in real time. And this was a key differentiator for SAP compared to other ERP products, that most products at that point in time were doing batch processing. So on mainframes, there used to be long cards of data. Programs had to be written in mostly in Micro Focus COBOL, and then the jobs had to be scheduled and run overnight. So next day, the reports would be available for people to see, for businesses to see what is the result of the computation and then take decision. But SAP changed the way they looked at things and made it real time. So after SAP R3, then there came an evolution of enterprise core components. So then there were a lot of add-on softwares like add-on things to ERP like CRM and analytics and data warehousing and other reporting tools, etc. So whatever was the core ERP was consolidated as enterprise core components, and then all these satellite systems would connect using the NetWeaver platform of SAP. So I'm sorry if this is a little bit too technical, but it's important to know the evolution of software and where we stand today. So that's why I'm just giving you very brief, very high level overview of the history. And then there is this now, like I mentioned, the HANA in-memory computing. What this does is when we have distributed systems, all of you must be aware of cloud computing and cloud data that we are all dealing with now, cloud-based systems. What that means is that systems need not reside in on premises of the customer. The systems could be hosted somewhere in a data center across in another country or another continent, and then we could be seamlessly accessing the data with users not having to worry about response time or from where is this data getting accessed, where am I reading this data from, without worrying about it. Because of high speed internet connections and data pipes across the globe, it is made possible now. And it is possible to have why should we look at why did cloud systems become so popular? Why was it beneficial for customers to have data distributed across the globe? Why not on premise? So the answer to this is that when the data is managed by experts who know how to handle large volumes of data. There are earlier we used to deal with kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes of data. Now it has gone into terabytes and petabytes and even beyond that. Right, the volume of data generated every day with so many. Imagine every site on the internet. There are so many social media, so many people posting content across all platforms. So you can imagine the kind of amount of data that is people have to deal with. So you needed more expertise in managing data than worrying about the applications. So to manage such data, you need such high security systems also, and then you need proper infrastructure to back up all the data and restore it in any eventuality of destruction of data. So for all such places, it had to be managed professionally, and these data centers that are managed are that maintain all this data are professionally managed, and that is why it became more popular, that the customer could focus on their core applications or core business rather than worry about where my data is and how it is stored and how soon can I access it, right? So that is how cloud computing has become so popular, and SAP has always been ahead of the curve compared to its competition. And so for the next at least 5 to 10 years, you don't need to worry about jobs or whether SAP will still be in demand. I know there's a lot of talk about it, lot of apprehension, and people say, the how secure is my future if I invest in learning SAP now? How much longer will it be in business? So it's been in business for the past 50 years, and I can only see increase in the dependency on such integrated platforms which provide information in real time and decision making abilities for the management of organizations. So that being the case, the dependency is only going to increase. It is not going to go down. Things will not happen on its own. Whatever technologies you bring in, artificial intelligence, machine learning, everything is being already incorporated into the platform. So it is definitely a secure career option to choose for career aspirants. And then do it with all sincerity and not just from the objective of earning good salaries and then jumping from one company to another where you get little bit of increments. Look at it to grow your knowledge, and then the returns will always follow. So now that being said about SAP, and we have established that it's a good, strong organization and a good, strong product to be associated with. I have been associated with it for over 25 years now, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my journey. I've met some wonderful people across the globe doing consulting, meeting various customers from small size. We have worked in sheds to large corporate houses. Microsoft is a SAP customer. I was fortunate to be on Microsoft implementation as well of SAP. And so there are a lot of large organizations across the globe. More than 78% of the corporates across the globe are on SAP. And so the adoption is huge. If you look at India too, 9 out of the 11 Navratna companies of India are on SAP platform. So all the large conglomerates use SAP. And so that is about SAP as a company and product. And now what are the various core modules that we talk about? So the main core module in the enterprise core components is your finance and controlling module. So why finance is at the epicenter of it? Because whatever transactions you do throughout your organization, whether it's purchase or sale, or if you're into services, you are selling your services or executing projects, implementing construction projects or IT projects, whatever you are doing, everything culminates into getting finances, getting paid for your services or product, and that is handled in your financial accounting. So FI module is there at the epicenter. And then there are all the modules where you perform transactions. Like I said, there is procurement module, which includes materials management, stores, inventory handling, purchasing organization. There's purchase of capital goods, purchase of raw materials. And then there is sales and distribution module, where you have sales of products or services. And then you have the contracts, and you have shipping, transportation, billing, all these downstream processes. In financial accounting, you have general ledgers, and you have to have your balance sheet, profit and loss accounts. You have in CO module, you have the cost centers, profit centers, controlling areas, all these processes. And then you have production planning, you have MRP processes, work centers in which you do the production. And there are different kinds of manufacturing as well. There is discrete manufacturing, there is process manufacturing, and then, so depending on, there is made to order, made to stock, all these different kinds of manufacturing processes. So apart from the core components of all these modules of SAP, there is also something called as industry solutions. For each industry vertical, there is a real estate solution, which is referred to as REFX. And then there is a retail solution where you do point of sale machine integration, end-to-end transactions of retail chains, the distribution, FMCG distribution, and through wholesalers, through distributors, wholesalers, all these various channels, and online sales. So there's omni-channel marketing and sales. All of this, it all integrates into the sales and distribution process. And then, so like this, there are several modules. Now, one module which is often, not given enough importance is the human resource module. And that is what we're going to talk about today, why it is important. See, you can have all the best resources in the world. You can have unlimited supply of cash and funds available. You can have the best machinery in the world, but unless you have people, nothing's going to work, right? Do you all agree with me? Yes or yes? Because there is no answer to this. You have to agree. It's only yes. So without people, you can't achieve anything, whether it's services organization or manufacturing organization, right? So you need people, you need human resources, and fortunately, better late than never. Even small organizations in India are realizing the fact that human resource is the most valuable resource you can have in any enterprise. And so what is it that you can do with human resource? What are the typical processes in an organization with regards to human resource? Is it just finding people, hiring them, and we are done with it? No, the whole human resource process starts way before your hiring process. For any enterprise, you need to have an organizational structure, right? You will have the board of management. You'll have the executive board, the board of management. You have a chairman, a CEO, and then various CXOs, those who take care of the finance division, those who take care of HR division, and various divisions and departments in the organization. You have several division heads. If you have multiple products or services, each product or service can be a profit center, and you have people responsible for it, for running the show. It is not possible for one person to do everything, right? So you need entire departments, and you need people who have the vision and the sense of direction to guide and get the output from all the people in each department. So you will have department heads. So you need an organization structure. And then you have, within the organization structure, you have various departments, divisions. Under that, you have open positions, right? So you decide in this department or division, how many people do I need to perform my functions, business functions. So then you decide on open positions, and then you worry about how do I fill those positions now. So from your organizational management, then there is a link to the recruitment module, right? There, that is where the recruitment part of HR comes into play, where you create job descriptions for each position, you define the attributes of it, what is it that is that this position requires, the person occupying this position, what qualifications should he or she have, and what is the role, what are the roles and responsibilities of this position. And then when you put an advertisement out there with the job description, you will receive all the resumes, you get all the candidates profiles, right? Either through online media or through recruitment agencies, and then you match the qualifications of the person to the qualifications or the requirements of the position, and then you do profile matchup, and then you find the most suitable candidate out of the candidature received, and then you begin the hiring process. So there is so much that happens. And before this, you also need to have a budget for this position. What is it that you will offer as a salary, fixed remuneration? And then what is the variable components? And what is the total cost to the company? So all of this has to be evaluated, approved, and then you fill in the position. So after recruitment process, then the entire employee life cycle begins. So from the day employee joins the organization, what is the kind of experience you provide to the employee? Uh, just now I mentioned that human resource is the most important resource in any organization. So finding good talent is one challenge, but retaining good talent and then providing them with the experience and instilling the sense of pride in the people that they belong to your organization and they are happy to be working there. That is the next most important thing. It's not just finding talent, but providing them with the best workplace experience, and then providing them. That is again a key function of human resources. So it is not simply hiring somebody and their job is done. Their job begins there. So then there are, you maintain the competencies of the people, provide them with the necessary training, induction, orientation, and then take them through their entire journey with the organization, where they stay for a long period of time, be associated with the organization, be productive while growing their career path, progressing into higher positions, and then also getting remunerated according to their growth within the organization. So this whole experience, there are various actions that happen or events that happen in people's lives, right? So there are events like they could be single initially and then they get married, they have children, and then they they probably purchase a car, a house, so they need to get those loans processed. So for that, they need some documentation from the organization. And then, so all these are life events. So HR system, a good HR system needs to have capability to capture all these events as and when they happen. And sometimes it is not reported immediately. Some action may not be reported immediately. So if it is reported later about an event that has happened in the past, the system should be capable of capturing that. And without having to worry about, oh, this person bought this house, so he should have got house rent allowance from the past 6 months. So do I need to use a calculator to calculate how much we should pay him now because he's reported it only now? So these are the kind of things which the system should be capable of automatically processing and not manually computed and put in, right? So whenever there is manual intervention, there are possibilities of errors creeping in or inaccuracies creeping into the system, and then it becomes very subjective. So SAP HR is very much capable of handling all these things. So one of the key aspects of SAP HR module is the time sensitivity of data. So every single data that you capture about an employee, whether it is the master data of all the employees' addresses, everything is time sensitive and related to start date, end date, when it is entered into the system. All of that is captured automatically. And if there is any retroactive change that happens, that is the example which I gave you just now, where employee is reporting some transaction at a later date than when it happened, all the HR needs to do is go and maintain it with the effective date, and the system does all the computations, recomputing taxes and recalculating all the entitlements, etc. So you don't need to worry about those things. And then after that, what are the other processes that are part of HR? So there are, whenever an employee, and we talk about employment, there is a planned working time, correct? So that means you have to define the work schedule of the employee what time the employee has to come in, how many days he will be working from office, and now with the new normal working from home. So you need to be able to capture all those details and have a schedule for planned working time, and then you need to provide some holidays to the employees, some mandatory public holidays, and then there are some other off days. You provide, you give a provision for the employees to have sick leave, and then to have maternity leave. There are various provisions which employers provide to the employees. So all of that needs to be generated in the system automatically, and then employees should be able to apply for those leaves and get those benefits, right? So then there is the plan. So this becomes the planned working time, and once there is a plan, it's not necessary that everybody sticks to the plan. We all like to deviate from plans, right? So our actual hours, actual work, actually what time we come in, what time we go, all depends on various factors. So it is important to also capture the actual time. When did the employee take off? When did he work? When did he start work, end work? What did he do during that time? So there are time sheets where you capture that. And then, then there is a evaluation process where you compare the planned versus actual and say, all right, so this employee, actually put in these many hours of work, whereas he was supposed to put in these many hours of work. So how do we treat this? Depending on the type of employment, and then depending on the grades and various other hierarchical policies and procedures, you treat certain employees in a certain way based on the employment contract, right? So for this, what do you need then? So you need to be able to address each group or set of employees differently. So you need certain structures. So you have to take these employees and tell what kind of employment, which organization within the enterprise they belong to. So in that organization, which location, and in this location, what is the holiday calendar to be followed? What is the working pattern to be followed? What is the work schedule? So for that, what is the work schedule they are attached to, and then what are the actuals, whether they only exceptions are captured, or in the actual time you assume that the employee is at work all the time and capture only exceptions, or you pay them based on the number of hours worked. So for all of this, you need additional structures. So in the beginning, if you remember, I spoke about the organization structure. Now we are talking about a personal structure. So in a personal structure, depending on the type of employment, you have employee group and employee subgroup, right? So why you need employee group and subgroups is for this, to be able to specify different patterns and different rules to process their payments, right? And to give them various entitlements. And similarly, to identify location of the employees, and then which divisions or profit centers they belong to, or which areas in the organization they work in. To identify that, you need an enterprise structure. So you have something called as personal areas, and then personal sub areas, and then there are various groupings of this, because for multiple personal sub areas you can define one set of rules, right? So you have the enterprise structure, personal structure, and then also the once you evaluate time and you decide, okay, this person has to be paid for this month, how do you do the payment? You have the payroll processes kicking in there. In payroll process, so you have various salary components. You cannot take one amount and pay as a one lump sum, right? Because there are various provisions under the Income Tax Act where you need to deduct, compute the gross salary, then deduct taxes from it, and then depending on what components you are breaking down the salary into, the taxes have to be computed. Then the tax deduction at source happens, and then the net pay is computed and paid out to the employee. right? So in payroll, you have the gross part of payroll and then the net part. So in the gross part, you determine what are all the payment components, the pay components for paying the employee. So basic, HRA, and all these HR processes are very country specific, right? So every country has a regulation. It doesn't matter whether you are working in a manufacturing concern or a services firm, or there will be slight differences, but majority of the income tax provisions, the pay components, and the pay patterns are all defined for a country according to the labor laws of that country. So every country in SAP HR system has something called as a country grouping. Okay, so based on that country grouping, when you hire somebody into a location, that location is tied to your enterprise structure, is ties that employee to that country grouping. So what do we have in your company code, personal area, personal sub area in your enterprise structure are all linked to the country grouping. And within the country, what are the data that you capture for that country is also uh, predetermined in the system. It is pre-configured. You can also tweak it. For instance, in India, you might capture PAN card, Aadhaar card, election voter ID, and things like that. In US, it would be social security number and various tax areas and things like that. Different set of data. So it is very country specific. So now, is it possible that somebody is hired in India but works in US? Yes, it is quite possible, especially in professional services. We see that a lot. So there is something called as a global employment. And then there is also deputation and return from deputation, and there are various rules around it. So all of these things. Right now, what I'm explaining to you is generic business processes in HR. It is very, very key to understand the HR business processes before you get into the system and understand how it has to be implemented in SAP or how it is processed in SAP. If you don't understand the business requirements, learning how to configure something is of no use, because as a consultant, what you are going to do is you are going to understand the customer's business process, recommend improvements in their business process, and implement those improved processes end to end on SAP so that it makes their life easier. If you take everything that they are doing today and automate it into the system, and they have to still do same number of steps, it is of no use. What is the use of putting in a system, right? It has to help them simplify their process, improve the efficiency, improve the accuracy of computation, and only then their investment in the product and services will be justified. Correct? All right. So coming back to processing. So we looked at the organizational setup and then the hiring, the events that happen in employees' life cycle, entire life cycle. So we saw the hiring process and then the time management process, where we spoke about the entitlements for absences, leaves, and holidays, and then the working patterns, and then time evaluation, where you compare planned with actuals, and then provide the inputs for payroll to compute the pay. And in payroll, we said there is a gross part of payroll which deals about all the payment components. And then what is another very important part of gross payroll? It is proration, right? People will not always start on first of the month and leave the organization on the last day of the month. They will join in between, they might leave in between. So the pay for that month has to be prorated according to the company's rules and regulations. And one is the country's rules, and then the company bylaws, whatever are defined in the organization. So there are various provisions to do this proration. You can do it based on the number of work days. You can do it based on calendar days. etc. So there are different rules that you can apply there. And so to apply various rules for various groups of employees, we said you need to have structures in the organization. That's why you have the enterprise structure, and then you have the personnel structure, and then there is a third structure called as the pay scale structure. So when you have various pay components, you have several allowances given to certain set of employees. Executives may get different set of components for pay. The workmen may get different components of pay, and so on, right? So to be able to define that, you need a pay scale hierarchy. So it starts with the type of pay scale type, and then geographic region where they belong to. For instance, there could be workmen in two different factories, one in Karnataka and one in Tamil Nadu. Maybe in Tamil Nadu, the culture or the agreed pay components and some local regulations are all slightly different from how it is done in Karnataka. So then, how do you differentiate them? Then you have in the hierarchy, you have pay scale area where you create separate areas for people and working in Karnataka versus working in Tamil Nadu. And then you can define different pay structures and ranges for that. So under pay scale area, you have pay scale groups and levels. So you have different grades, you can map to pay scale groups, and then within that you can have multiple levels. And then that is how you define the salary structure. And then there is something called as allowance groupings. You can group some workmen may get uniform allowance. They may get certain other allowances and benefits. Executives may get driver salary or car installment, certain benefits and things like that. So everybody will have different grades of employees, may have different components, which will be covered in this pay scale hierarchy. And then there is the bank related information. So how do you process the net pay? And then so you need to capture all the bank details of the employee. After payroll is processed, all the deductions are processed. In deductions also, there are so many different kinds of deductions, right? There are statutory deductions, and then there could be some garnishments or court orders, where there is a government order to deduct certain child support or certain deductions from the employee's pay, which has to directly be given to third party. It could be employer's responsibility to do that. And then there could be optional deduction components, which the employee opts for. And so all those. And there are certain statutory deductions where there is a matching contribution from the employer. I request those who are not speaking to please be on mute. Yeah, so there would be some employer contribution for certain deductions like PF, and then there would be some other statutory deductions like in most countries there are more than 100 country versions of HR in SAP system, and every country's all the statutory requirements are already built in by SAP. So there are thousands of localization consultants working in various labs of SAP who are constantly in touch with the government regulations, and they customize the system or give an option for customers in that region or country to customize it to meet the statutory requirements, and then come up with all the statutory reports. Okay, so then there is so this forms the payroll gross and net part, and then there is the posting to finance. So whatever is the pay computed during payroll has to be stored and posted to finance module as employee costs, right? So there is some configuration options on how you want to group these costs. Okay, do you want to divide it based on segments, or Do you want to do it based on geographic segregation or legal entity wise segregation? All of this, these options are there, and then it gets posted into payroll, into finance module. So finance and controlling module. So while doing this, there are also a few things which are cross module. There is something called as cross application timesheets, because when employees are working on various projects, you would want to not only capture their employment, their payroll costs for the organization, but you would also want to allocate parts of those costs to certain projects or certain other WBS elements, we call them, work breakdown structure elements. So in your project systems module, you can set up your projects and you can have various work breakdown structures under the project, and certain costs of the employees you can book it to that those WBS elements, and that posting can happen through cross application timesheets, and those hours will get captured there, and when payroll posting happens, it also posts the amounts to those, right? So this is about the payroll process, and then these are all transactional part of HR, right? Where you have the employees, you hire them, you record their time, and then you process the payroll and post the results to finance. These are all the transactional parts. But there is more to managing human resources than to managing the transactional part, and that is the talent management. Okay? So what is in talent management? It's not enough if you hire employees and keep paying them, right? You need to have, you need to also think about their personal growth, their growth in their knowledge, in their capabilities, in their competencies. You need to provide learning and development opportunities for them to learn new areas, to excel in their careers. And then you need to provide certain succession planning you need to do for some critical positions. You need to plan who will succeed the current CXOs, and who are the potential. What is it that they are lacking today to fill in their shoes, or what kind of training is required for them to grow up into that over a period of time. It's not enough if you're just putting years into your experience, and you don't automatically qualify to become a CEO of an organization, right? You have to take on those responsibilities. You have to be able to deliver on those responsibilities effectively, so that you are responsible for the growth of every single individual in the organization, and the organization itself should grow to the next level. So all of these, when you are performing, you do it at a department level first, and then at a division level, and then regional level, and then business function level, and then you get into the entire organizational level, right? So to be able to do that, as human resource system, we should have processes and configuration options in place to manage this talent and to manage the competencies, to provide this learning and development opportunity, to provide the growth path, and all of this, right? So talent management includes competency management, includes performance appraisals, setting up of the goals for an employee, both long term as well as short term goals, setting objectives, monitoring the KRAs, monitoring how they are doing against their objectives that are set, and then providing them with learning and development opportunities, and then providing compensation plans where they can choose how they want, how you can choose how you incentivize them as they, and differentiate between performance and performers and non-performers. And so all of this is involved in talent management. Then there is also, you provide an opportunity for people to network among themselves and collaborate on projects, on the work that they are doing. all of this comes under talent management. And so as some of you, I'm sure, are aware of, there is another product for talent management which is owned by SAP. It's called SuccessFactors, and it is entirely on cloud. So SAP HCM seamlessly integrates with this product called SuccessFactors. You can have SAP HR on premise and you can have this on cloud, but for the users, it can appear as a one single system because it integrates seamlessly. Okay, so there is this SuccessFactors. It has about 7 modules, and all of this can be also achieved with SAP HR system at the back end. But most of the customers now prefer to use it on the cloud because of better user interface and usability, options. And then it is they don't have to worry about maintaining security of the data. It's all maintained by SAP on professionally managed cloud servers managed by SAP. So that is another advantage with the cloud-based systems. So this is all about the business functions that are there in HR. There are few things which go beyond transaction as well as talent management. I think this 1 hour would not be sufficient to explain all those things. There is like workforce planning, workforce analytics, and various kinds of MIS reporting that can be done with the data in HR, which can help the management take decisions. To learn all of these things, there are various certifications available. You can do SAP HCM certification on S4HANA. You can also do SuccessFactors certification across various modules of SuccessFactors. You can do recruitment management, recruitment marketing. There is Employee Central module, which manages all the employee data. And then you can do onboarding of modules where induction and getting people on board after recruitment, all those processes are covered. And then there is succession planning module. There's workforce analytics, and these are some of the modules I can recollect. You can, if you have developed any interest from this, feel free to contact Prajakta, or like she mentioned earlier, through our website or social media sites, you can express your interest and somebody from the education team will contact you. Now, coming back to IT Champs as an organization, we are silver partners. We are value-added reseller partners of SAP for the past 16 years. Now we are into our 17th year. We were founded in February of 2005. So we are into our 17th year of operations, and we have about 120 plus full-time employees, and then we have some employees on contract. So we have close to 180 employees total, and we are spread across we have customers spread across the globe. We are supporting multiple customers from the Middle East. We are supporting about 32 country locations of ABB. We have been providing support for them for well over 10 years now. And then we have also got a large group of companies from Saudi Arabia, where we are supporting all modules, not just as HR, but all the other modules as well. And they have some 14 companies in real estate, in retail, across various industry verticals. And we are providing complete functional and technical support from offshore, from our Mysore Development Center. We have offices in Mysore and Bangalore, and sales offices in Mumbai and Hyderabad. And so Naresh is here from our Mumbai office. He takes care of our Mumbai office. And we are also recently, we have entered into BPM space, which is business process management. And we have partnered with companies called Pega and Kamunda. And, in another session, probably I will talk about those products, and then what career opportunities are there. We are setting up IT Champs Digital, and shortly we'll have offices in UK and Germany and Australia. These three for Pega and Kamunda mostly, and we are also working with several large global consulting organizations like E&Y. We have recently, in fact, yesterday was go live of a project. We have done a rollout for a very large healthcare company called Piramal Healthcare in US. They acquired a company in US, and we did the rollout along with EY. We entered into contract with Piramal, and we have delivered that project successfully. And next week we are kicking off a large sugar manufacturing organization in Karnataka. We are in fact, they are one of the highest producers of ethanol in the entire Asian continent, and we will be kicking off their sugar distillery and power generation plant implementation of S4 HANA across 6 plants in different locations. And this project will be starting next week. So we have plenty of projects and opportunities both in India and abroad with SAP as well as other BPM products and software. Right now, just on SAP, we have more than 100 open positions, and I am not sure how long it will take to fill all those. But right now, I can assure you, whoever gets into SAP and does their certification and training, we would be able to definitely provide them with jobs immediately upon certification. We have very good internship program during which we can provide more, training, practical oriented training during the internship period. So this is our USP compared to other training partners of SAP, and we would be happy to engage with you and provide you this kind of training. The only thing required is the dedication and the willingness to learn and excel. So if you have all these things, then I highly recommend an SAP career to all of you. So please contact us, and then we can take it forward. So I think I'm open to questions now. So I would be happy to take any questions. Prajakta, are there any questions in chat box?
No, there are no. But if anybody wants to ask, please go ahead.
Feel free to type it in the chat box.
Shamla Devi, she has put one question.
Yeah, I can read it, Raj, don't worry. So, what is the difference between cloud and on-premise? Like I explained, the on-premise solution is hosted by the customer in their premises. They need to have a data center set up. When it is on cloud, they go with professionally hosted cloud hosting providers. There are various tier 1 and tier 2 providers. Tier 1 providers are like Amazon Web Services, AWS. You might have heard of them. Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure Platform. So all these are tier 1 data centers. And then there are tier 2 data centers like Control S, Next Gen, several others. So that's the difference. Any other questions? XM scope and timelines. Yeah, Sunil. So Sunil's question is: are there any updates on human experience management? Now, earlier it used to be called human resources, then human capital management (HCM), and now it is called as human experience management. So SAP is working on S4 HANA platform to bring in a new human experience management module, completely redesigned with microservices for everything. That is currently scheduled to be released sometime in 2023. But I don't know if this pandemic has thrown it off schedule a little bit. But very soon we should be seeing at least the beta releases for early adopters, and so 2023 is when you can expect those versions. Only talent management are supported by success factors. Yeah, primarily all the modules in success factors are talent management ones, except the employee central and payroll. But payroll again is not processed completely on cloud. It is still with the help of backend HCM. But customers can subscribe to EC and payroll also on success factors. So I hope I answered the question of Santosh. So it is both talent management as well as transactional, but mostly talent management. We are Siddheshwar Pulari. Sir, we are participate SAP training in our college and they give us certification some years ago. How can it help here? Yeah, if you are certified, Siddheshwar, definitely it is useful. Provided the certification is from SAP, and please do approach us. We can look at what certification and what training you have gone through. Then we can determine if you need further training or you can directly join us for internship. Sharmeen Akhtar, is SAP certification must to become a consultant? Um, Yes, it is definitely in the early stages of your career. It will help if you have SAP certification, because at least the employers will get a confidence that you have covered everything. You know theoretically what is possible in SAP if you have done the certification. Now, after you start implementing start working on projects, then your project experience holds more weightage than certification. But definitely, initially, it helps. Can you please explain briefly certification process? How many certifications are there in HCM? There's just one certification in SAP HCM, but success factors, like I said, each module, there are 7 modules. Each module you can have a separate certification. I think the education team will be better placed to explain all the options. So you can contact through education at itchamps.com. Just drop in a mail and they will send you all the details.
Joseph is in touch with me, so I can take it, Joseph, later one-on-one.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So if there are no more questions, then there's one from Santosh. Is success factors the way forward? That Yeah, see, like I said, understanding the business concepts and processes is more important than learning the tool. So whether it is success factors or not, as of now, that is definitely the area SAP is pushing for, success factors. And tomorrow, if they come out with this new human experience management module on S4 HANA, if they promote that on cloud, then whatever you learn in success factors definitely will not go waste. It will help you learn talent management in that also, because the concepts are the same, business processes are the same. It is how it is tweaked and implemented is what changes. So I would say don't worry so much about whether it's success factors or HCM. Definitely, in whatever you enroll for, there are enough and more opportunities for you to build your career. All right. Hopefully, I'll have other sessions too subsequent to this, in which I'll get a little bit more deeper into technically what is possible, what are the configuration options, and how you can go about implementing SAP HCM. And so for today, I think we are done. I'd be happy to get any feedback from you all. If you need anything specific to be covered in subsequent sessions, feel free to drop us a mail. You can reply to the email where you got invite to this session. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to all of you and answering some of the questions. I look forward to seeing you all in future again, and wish you all the best in your careers. Have a great future ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Naresh,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
thank you.
So
Naresh,
much.
over to you, Naresh.
Naresh, you are on mute.
Naresh, you're on mute. Naresh, you are on mute. Yeah. Naresh, we are not able to hear you. Naresh? We are not able to hear you, Naresh. It's okay, Naresh. I'll only take it further. Thank you everybody for joining this, and we really thank the colleges and the individuals who have helped us in making this webinar successful. And thank you to our CEO who has removed time just to give some information on HR. And look forward to everyone for our next knowledge series, and if you will be immediately sending the e-certificates of attendance, and if you need any more information, feel free to call us or get in touch with us through our social media or email. Thank you everybody, and take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good day, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.